Daydreaming today.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to How Musicians Make It. My name's Adam, and I'm your host. Today, I've got Braxton Cook on the show. Braxton Cook is one of the greatest artists alive today. Both a saxophonist and a singer, graduate of Julliard School of Music, maybe the top school of music in the entire world, certainly one of the top music schools in the world. And we talked about how he booked his first Europe tours, how he got his first manager. He just signed with a new record label. We talked about why he decided to sign with a record label now after having a successful independent career, how he's built his audience, all kinds of different stuff. It was a really great conversation. We talked about how young musicians can learn language in music as well. So we talked about music things, but we definitely honed in a lot on like how he built his career from a business standpoint, and he was very open and honest with that information, and I was very appreciative of his manager reaching out to get him on the show. So before we get there, I just want to tell you a little bit about Gig Boss. Gig Boss is an app that we developed. It's on iOS and Android. It's an organizational tool for freelance musicians and band leaders. It's a place where you can create groups and create events. When you create events, you can put all the details of the event in there. You can link charts and recordings in the notes section. You can kind of put all of the information for a gig in a central location so that the gig details aren't getting lost in big fat email chains, 50 emails long, like I used to deal with as a full-time freelancer. If you're a band leader, you can add musicians to your groups, and invites go out that they can accept or decline when you create a gig, and then they get that gig showing up in their scrolling feed of gigs on the app, and they can click on a square and they can see all the details, contact you, contact the venue, contact other people who've accepted the gig. It's a great tool. We just created a books page that goes along with that app where you can track all your money in and your money out. You can mark things as paid or unpaid. It's a great way to track your finances and track your schedule and get everybody on the same page in the band for any freelancer or band leader. I use it all the time. I'm a target user. We're really pumped about where we're going. We got a great team working on it. It's free on iOS and Android. There's a subscription paywall to get to the books page, but otherwise, the rest of the tools are free. So download it, check it out. There's a 2-month trial on the books page. If you love this podcast and you want to support us, that's the best way to do it. All right? Without further ado, here's my conversation with Braxton Cook. So, hey, thanks for taking the time to do this, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So you just got back from a tour. What was that like?
Bro, it was incredible.
Yeah, I saw like sold out shows every night. Was that the deal?
Yeah, the whole joint, the whole tour was just phenomenal, man. I'm just grateful because, not that long ago, bro, the whole world was just shut down and this was not even an option. I was like the last thing we did in 2019, maybe we did a summer tour in Europe, and then I think I played in Jakarta, and then that was like maybe my last big run until I think March of 2020 when everything was just shut down. And then it's been 4 years since then, since we got back. So I was extremely grateful, very blessed, and to play to just nothing but just packed rooms. And it was awesome, bro. We played Paris, then Milan, then London. Then we had a bit of a break as far as shows, and I went back to Paris to go do a masterclass at this conservatory and just teach some students. And then we did a concert and a performance of all my music with these students. That was incredible. That just kind of fueled me to kind of finish the next bit of the tour where we back to Italy, and I did a show in Bologna, then a show in Rome, and then a show in Warsaw, Poland. And they were just, bro, they were great. They were great. It was super.
That's awesome, man. So it seems like the pandemic hit your career at a time when you were really starting to rise. I mean, you did a Tiny Desk during the pandemic, right? At home Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
And that's a huge opportunity. And then to have to do it at home. I mean, getting to this place where you're now booking tours in Europe again, did it feel like you were kind of swimming upstream a little bit getting there? Or was it like people were ready to book you once you were ready to tour?
It was it felt like starting over to some degree. It was this is crazy. We all have to just go back to where we were 5 years ago and just do this again.
Yeah.
No, it was very much that. I had those conversations with agents and everything's backed up and we have to, you know what I mean? It was all that.
Sure.
And still is, this wasn't a festival run. This was a club run where I was like, we did our club run, I think our first European club tour in 2018,
Mm.
like all of 2018 where we played Paris, we played London, we did this run where Ronnie Scott's in Paris and all this stuff. And yeah, to some degree, it was like, oh, we got to do this shit again. You know what I mean? But we're all older with like kids and like life is like life, you know what I'm saying? But
Sure.
then again, like it's also, I'm like, it could have not happened at all. You know what I'm saying? I could have just been like, oh, that was my moment and it's over. So like very grateful for that. But at the same time, I'm like cognizant, of course, that like, oh shoot, we did do this in 2018. But that's kind of what it takes,
Yeah.
So to some degree, the world, this music world, and then probably the world in general is just like sometimes a matter of just like who's willing to just get out there and just go do it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of that. Christian Scott would tell me like this is kind of like the war of attrition to some degree.
Hmm.
Just think those willing to stick around, stay around, do the work, and then eventually, like Jay-Z said, just showing up. Eventually, you get these opportunities where you get certain looks and certain things like that. But I
I
did.
do feel like that's true. Like
Mhm.
who stays in the game the longest wins in a lot of ways, but also like your music is obviously reaching a wide audience and it's connecting with people. So there's a combination of war of attrition and also making music that's of the time, that's potent, that connects.
I guess,
Right?
yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, I guess so, man. Like, it feels like music, yeah, that's honest to me, and it's amazing to know and see actually, like in person, yeah, that it connects to other people, not just digitally and on our phones and on Instagram and all that, but
Right.
yeah, like going on tour and feeling that, getting that immediate kind of feedback, and it's incredible, bro. Like that fuels me, to really want to keep going and keep pushing and keep writing and keep creating and going back out there. Like,
Yeah, cool.
awesome.
So what size rooms are you playing over there? Is like 300 to 500 cap rooms or more than that?
Yeah, in Italy, maybe I think Bologna and Rome. Bologna might have been two, but Rome might have been a little bigger at Alcazar, maybe three. Uh,
Yep.
and then with the jazz clubs, what they do are just multiple sets a night. So no, Paris was a small room, maybe 100, two sets, so 200, and then let's see, Milan, we did maybe 500 tickets there. That was dope. That was
Wow, cool.
Blue Note Milan. Blue Note's a very famous, jazz club, but it's like maybe 250 cap per set kind of thing. Um, and that was fun too. That gets you in shape, two shows a night and like night to night and then flight to the next city and then two more shows. Those first three shows, I was like, we finished in London. I was like, yo, I'm tapped. Just because I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
This used
Yeah.
to be what we do like all the time. Um,
Yeah, and it's taxing to go deep emotionally on stage every set.
yeah,
To go,
exactly.
I want to give this the same experience. I want to have the same experience.
Mhm.
Not trying to recreate, but
Yeah, I would do a
trying to
different
connect.
set. Yeah, I would do like a slightly different set. I would start and end differently and then like switch some songs out. When for those first three shows, there were like jazz clubs where we did two sets. Yeah, I would try and change the set around a little bit. Just so it was different for us in the band and different for, audience. And my wife Shay, she was there too for those first three shows. So it was just like, oh yeah. We'll do a different show slightly. Um,
Yeah. And you have kids too. Were they out with you or a
yeah.
kid or kids?
Yeah, I got one boy. His name's
Okay.
August. That's my boy, man. He's great.
What was his name? I'm sorry.
August.
August. That's my son's name. That's funny.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. We call him Augie, but yeah, August Isaacson was like his great grandfather's name. Something.
That's fire. We were inspired by like August Wilson and the playwright, and we were like, what a dope name. And he was due in September, but actually came early, so that was cool. Born August 31st, like just made it.
Yeah.
Nah, he's a good dude. He's two and a half.
Okay.
How old is
So
your?
wait, was he with your wife? Was he
Oh,
was he
nah.
out there with?
Not this,
No.
not this run. I think if we lock in this Asia tour, I'm gonna try and make it a family trip for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to do like, yeah, one excursion every year. It's like all of us. But not just Shay came this time. It was like she's a professor here in LMU in LA, and it was her spring break. So it was like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Cool. What does she teach?
Political science. She teaches like
Political science.
political data analysis course and then like another lecture that's kind of surrounding politics and stuff. It's cool. It's cool.
Nice. And your dad's a professor as well. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Law professor?
Law professor, man. Yeah, constitutional
Okay.
civil rights law. He's been in Georgetown law since I was born, since '91.
Okay.
And stuff. So like, yeah, he been holding that down for a minute. And yeah, I come from that. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
academics first kind of household. Where like I even went to Georgetown first before I studied music. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I get that. Like dad's a professor,
Yeah.
don't have to pay kind of jam
That's
for a year.
pay. Also, like music. Do you want to take out loans to go to music school? We had that conversation in high school. That was painful, but necessary.
Yeah. So did you get an offer from Julliard then? Like when you transferred there, was it like
right out of high school? No, I got into MSM, so Manhattan School of Music, and New School,
Yeah.
some other schools like that, University of Maryland, Howard, a bunch of like other really good schools too, and Georgetown just made the most sense. My older brother was there at the time, like you said, tuition was free due to my father's like benefits, so like that made sense. But also I got in free to other schools. It was just I thought, Georgetown, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'm still walking around with like $100,000 in student loans. So
I feel it.
Anybody
I'm
that
crazy
figured that out.
I still owe for the dorms. Like when I
Yeah.
eventually transferred after 2 years to Julliard, and like, they were like, you need to stay in the dorms your first year. And I was like, all right. Plus, I don't even know where to live. So I did it for 2 years. And yeah, just that alone, it was like 15 grand a year or something.
Yep.
Meal plan. So maybe more.
Sure.
That meal plan was not happening, but it's all good.
Yeah. So next tour run is the idea then like you sold out all these clubs. You want to, is it like strategic level up venue size?
That's the plan.
Each time you go out there, you working with an agent over there?
Bro, that's funny you say that. I think we just locked in I have an agent that kind of does the whole world for me right now, but I think just to help alleviate some of that pressure for her, it was like we've been desperately kind of looking for another team member to bring on to help break up the territories. So it's like, so she can focus on, my main agent can focus on the US and certain things. And then I can be the agent. So we just, as of this morning, just brought somebody on, which is so fire.
Wow.
So good things, bro. Good things. And that is the plan. Absolutely. Like to help land some festivals and soft ticket things, of course, but then just same way we did in the States, just like kind of going back at these clubs and growing our fan base and hard tickets in each major market, just, you know what I mean? Just rinse and repeat, just growing one by one until demand what we want to demand in each place.
Right. That's great, man.
That's what I'm trying to get after. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're getting there, man. We're getting there. It's very exciting.
Yeah. How did you find like your first manager, the one you've been working with, or your agent? How did you connect with that person? Was that through people you had been touring with? Like you toured with Christian Scott for a while. Did you meet people through those things that became sort of your team when you started really going after your own stuff?
I did, but it didn't come through the jazz sphere, which like I would have thought, you know what I mean? Like there were plenty of shows, sure, where we played with Christian Scott for years. I've toured in his group for 5-6 years where like, I'm sure there were agents and management and stuff in the crowd, but it never quite, I think maybe sometimes just seeing you as a young 21-year-old playing with the main artist, maybe it was hard for them to see me in that light, like as my own artist that was going to potentially break out and do their own thing.
Yeah.
So no, not really. There were a few labels, Concord Jazz maybe, that reached out, and like I had deals, maybe like potential deals. I thought about going that route, but ultimately, I think a lot of my R&B kind of pop leaning connections ended up leading to those major team members and stuff. So for example, damn, how did I get connected to UTA? Oh yeah, so I opened for Mac Ayers, homie of mine. Great,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mac's manager was from Maryland. They wanted someone to open in their on their tour. They had a show in DC at Union Stage, I believe. And they were like, bro, you want to come down? I was living in New York, but I was like, I'll come down. I'll get a band of DC homies. We'll do a quick little 40-minute set open for Mac. So we did that. And then there were a bunch of UTA agents trying to sign Mac, I guess, so they were all in the crowd. And they were like, who's his opener? Blah, blah, blah. And I get an email the next day kind of thing. Like, we'd like to, set up a call. So we set up a call, blah, blah, blah. I get on I don't know if I got on the phone or email with Noah Simon, who was over at UTA. And
Mm-hmm.
Noah was like, yo, you're dope, man. Like, we'd like to continue this conversation kind of thing. But first things first, Tom Misch is looking for a saxophonist for his US tour 2018. You down? And I was like, yeah, I'm down. They're like, cool. He wants to see a video. I was like, a video of me playing. I was like, bro, I'm good. It'll be fine. But I was like, it'll be cool. But I sent a video. I'm just talking shit. So I sent this video. And but I forgot what that joint was called. And Tom was like, great, awesome. They locked it in. Noah helped set up that whole play. I ended up meeting Tom's manager, Duncan Murray, who's super cool. Then we did that whole kind of run, that US run, Coachella run, time thing. And that was sick. And then that led to like Noah officially kind of signing me, bringing me on and being like, yo, I want to work with you. And he's the one that set up that first European club run that later that year. So I opened for Tom Misch at Terminal 5, and then we fly to London that night. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I jump off the stage and we go right to JFK. It was insane. For like this midnight kind of flight, and we made it, and then that was the start of that first run. I worked with Noah. Then he did a European run for me the next year, 2019. We did like Montreux Jazz Fest and North Sea and all these like awesome stages. And then COVID, and then COVID was like kind of a transition again where I was like, all right, I gotta figure something out. So then so Mac Ayers ended up actually not signing with UTA, but signing with Merrill, Lucy, who's my agent now. And Merrill, she's cool, really hardworking, scrappy agent, which I love, she's just passionate. And Merrill, did a great job, has done a great job with Mac. He's been killing shit and selling out big rooms and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'll see what Merrill's talking about. We chatted over the like kind of most of 2020. And then she brought me on, and then I kind of transitioned to working with Liaison Artists is the name of her agency. And she's been cool. We've been rocking ever since, And like I said, trying to stand, of course, and find people that specialize in certain territories and stuff. But she's been a solid team member, and that means that a lot, especially in a time where shit was so slow that it was just like, it was really cool that she was like, yeah, let's do it.
Right. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned that you had some record label interest. Somebody just told me that you've been independent. Yeah. Are you signing a deal now? Is that about to happen?
I already did technically.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just they're pretty short deals, which is really cool. I'm over at Network Music Group. And it's not for like 2.5 records. So it's like 2 projects plus like a remix thing, which I typically do. I typically do remixes of my records. I've been doing that since somewhere in between, just to get into some of like, electronic spaces, hip hop, things that my music does. They don't normally make it into some of those rooms, maybe do tempo and sounds and stuff. So it's cool to kind of like have people and cool producers flip stuff and expand the fan base and potential fan base. And that's been dope. So yeah, I've already done 2 remixes with 90s.
Butcher Brown, right? Just did. Yeah.
They're so good.
Nice, man. Man.
They're so dope. So yeah, that's, in the works, what I'm saying? I'm already working on the second project, and we're about 60% there. I'm like hoping to finish by September.
So were you touring behind new music, or was it still
this is
Who Are You When Nobody's Watching?
Exactly. Who Are You When No One Is Watching? Still touring that record, and just in Europe. So it's just like a new market. So I'm still very much touring that, even though we're just barely past the year mark of the album being out.
Right. So has your relationship with that album changed in the last year since it's come out?
No, I'm just proud of it. Not really. No, I'm just, no, if anything, it's just continuing to just appreciate how people appreciate it. Really, you know what I'm saying? Like I made so much of that. I started in 2020, 2021, and did so much of that at home and so much of it remotely. Literally getting drum parts from Curtis on the same and trumpet parts from Marquise, and Masego sending me a verse for this, and I'm piecing this record together like that. And so much more time than being in the room and like making decisions all together, you know what I'm saying? So,
if
anything, it's just been really, really cool to experience the record in live settings, traveling the world with it, and it's making me feel more proud of it, to be fair. And it was up for an Image Award, which is really cool, in NAACP.
Yeah, I saw that NAACP thing.
Yeah.
Did they vote on that already?
They did, bro. They did. They
Okay.
did. I think it's already been selected. I think Brandy Younger, she won for that category, but nonetheless,
Cool.
still dope that it's up,
Super dope.
recognized in that space. Like, that's fire.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And that, I mean, you talk about, Black love on that record, and
Yeah.
you're talking to your parents and what happened with their relationship, and I imagine that your parent, like, I don't mean to get too personal. Your parents divorced, is that correct?
Yeah,
And so you're kind of like talking to them about love and like their the way they interface with love and like
yeah.
the way you interface with them, and like that's such an interesting concept, I think, in general, and is something that people are now a lot more open about speaking about, especially men. It's like, I think we're kind of adverse to therapy and adverse to talking about our feelings, and it's like
especially men in that space is not a new thing, but it's becoming, like you say, more people are more open and receptive to it. And I started therapy in the pandemic, because I think we were all just dealing with so much, and I was like trying to find therapists and teletherapists, and it took a minute to find like someone that was good, but once I did, like that helped. And that was a lot of the work that I felt like I had to deal with, some of the just familial kind of stuff I was working through. Yeah, made its way into the songs, its way into the record, and a lot of the conversations that I needed to have with my parents were like, some of that was captured on the record, and were, very much part of those interludes. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But like the place I ended up getting to, I felt like was just like through therapy and through these conversations was just like such a blessing. Where I'm at in 2024 to where I felt like I was at in 2020, just like, yeah, just so anxious and troubled, worried about just everything.
Yeah.
But having worked through that was really important. And this record was part of that process. Very important. It's a deep record for me,
Yeah. Do you feel a sense of responsibility to talk about the Black experience in America as an artist? Like, it feels like I'm a
it's a cook,
jazz musician, and like
kind of my father, really. Like, yes, you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't say pressure, but I feel like that's like part of who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would sit down over dinner talking about politics as I was a kid. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
my three brothers, I'm certainly the least like verbose, and you know what I mean, probably least educated on the subject, I'm sure, but like, we grew up in that household, you know what I'm saying? Like, where my dad is just like, he's a preacher, you know what I mean? Activist, professor, and like, this is what we study. This is the lens through which we see and analyze things. And we live in America, which is like inherently kind of just racist, fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Capitalist country that's like got a lot of flaws, and then we're just a family of intelligent people that like, this is how we talk about these things. And then, then my wife, it's no coincidence that like, this is what she does as well. And like, this is very much part of just who we are, you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
I think music, if anything, is an extension of that, and that's part of who I am, of course, as well, too. But it's like, I think, to answer your question, I'm like, that's just really an expression of who I am. And in the music part, just helps me to articulate that better than words, to be fair. Is that
what Love Me Like the 90s is about?
It's about, that record's about a lot of things, man. It's about a lot of things. It's topically definitely about just all the beautiful bodies of work in both cinema and music that I feel like came out during the 90s that we all.
I grew up in the 90s, man. So like, R&B was what I listened to. Like, hip hop and R&B were America's popular music. So that's like, I grew up with that and grew up studying like old jazz musicians. And so it was like, to me, like, all my heroes were Black,
Yeah, that's it. That was it. I felt the same way. That was like what I listened to, what I consumed, and what I loved, you know what I'm saying? And they were positive. Yeah, like Living Single, like television, Cosby Show, all these.
Jamie Foxx show.
Jamie Foxx show. It was like, well, no, I know Cosby, but you know what I'm saying? At the time, no.
Yeah.
And more so like music and the cultural kind of movement, I feel like that was starting to happen. and where we were getting more positive depictions of blackness outside
Yeah.
of just necessarily like, this kind of gangster image or slave kind of narrative, which was also still prevalent. You got Color Purple and stuff like that was still there, but it's like
Right.
in addition to that, we were starting to see black doctors, lawyers, and all these different things on television, and it was inspiring.
Which was your real life experience.
And it literally was exactly. It was quite literally my experience. Even Fresh Prince, all this, you know what I'm saying? Seeing that was like, oh, that was fire. And then also the Love movies, the Love Jones, or like all these, that narrative being depicted and explored and showed was just like, was everything. And then also I felt like just on a personal level, back to like kind of my family's relationship, I think it was just the maybe even the height of my parents' relationship, as far as like when we all really felt that just, that energy in the household too. There's a nostalgia kind of just like, dang, that's when it felt like things were just perfect all around. So yeah, like that record is very much about all of those things. And I think, when I say Love Me Like the 90s, it's about the movies. It's about just that spirit of energy, positivity, and just like, even in Black Thought with regard to Cornel West and like all of this, kind of Black liberation movement that was happening too. It was a time.
Yeah.
It was a time. Jazz coming back into the forefront, you know what I'm saying, through a lot of Spike's films, but also Winton's, Pulitzer Prize. Like the 90s was kind of,
Was that
leaps forward.
Was that Blood on the Fields? Was
exactly
that
Blood on the Fields in like maybe 97. Yeah, it's an interesting time. Also the same time as like the crime bill. Right.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a complex time, but it was like one in which like, there was a lot of just movement, a lot of, you know what I'm saying? A lot of things happening, a lot of things of our culture being brought to the forefront, a lot more visibility. Yeah. I don't know. So, I'm saying that inspired me for sure.
Yeah. I got us on a little bit of a tangent. I wanted to ask about the record label deal one more time. So you've been independent. Why sign with somebody now? Like, what does the record label bring to the table that makes that deal interesting to you?
Oh, a lot of that has to do with probably where I'm at in life. I've been so used to doing a lot of this myself and leaning on, people obviously in my space, my world, like when I had that meeting with Noah Simon for UTA, I had a homie, my boy Ramon Gamble, who he'd act as my proxy manager, and I'd be like, hey man, can you get on the call and just make me look professional and like help handle this? Like, you know what I'm saying? He's a smart dude, went to MIT, all this, but like,
cool.
I've been piecemealing things together to try and get to where I felt like I needed to get, and that I'd ask, leaning on Shea to help take photos, be like, oh, is this a good photo to post? This, you know what I mean? Just trying to do things within the village that I kind of had and just building it myself. And then that required a lot of time, being your own PR guy, emailing and hitting people on Twitter, trying to get someone to write an article on you. You know what I'm saying? All that, bro.
Yep.
Yeah. And people.
That's a grind.
Yeah, it was a grind. But I was like into it and I had the time. And now with a kid and a family and a house and all that too, like I think where I'm at now, it made sense, to bring on a team. And it also, having done so many records independently, just kind of on TuneCore and CD Baby, like having my analytics, having the sales history of like, oh, well, Firesign made me this many thousands, or this made this.
Yep.
There's a different conversation I think you could have at the negotiation table with regard to like how many records I want to sign for at the age of 30 years old. I'm not signing for 5-6 albums or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Or
yep.
Yeah, can we having an advance like, per record or recording budget, when I've seen a contract when I was 23, I did the Monk competition and we all got a Concord deal like right here.
Wow.
They wanted us to sign it before we even went on stage. And I'm like, it was like 5-6 records and no advance and this and this and this. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. But like, that's what this stuff used to look like then, you know what I mean? And I was kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put this stuff out and kind of dump all my money into it and just kind of build it. And I'm going to get after it. And I knew to get after it young because Christian told me, like Christian Scott started while he was at Berkeley. And I was like, well, I'm going to start while I'm young too. Because it's just we're all young, hungry, eager, willing to do things where we're just willing to be more uncomfortable. It's easier to get on you know what I'm saying? Let's share rooms on the road. That's harder to do.
Yep.
30 something years old. No one wants to do that shit anymore. But like then
Yep.
I was like, this is easier to build a business while we're all 24, 25, hungry and got a lot of energy, and just willing to play with less expenses and no bill. You know what I'm saying? Like not no bills, but it's easy. It was a time to go after it. And like if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah, I just talked to somebody who like started after she had a couple kids and was like in her 30s and did that same grind in her 30s with kids, and I was like, man,
Jesus,
that's tough.
that is tough.
Like great blues roots singer, guitar player, like she's killing it now, but
Good for her.
it was
Yeah, because it's like it's still hard now, but it's like, yeah, I could only imagine. You know what I'm saying? If it's like I could only imagine. So yeah, I'm glad we kind of just got going, and I got as much data as I possibly could because it did help. I feel like negotiations when it came time to like finding this deal.
you got numbers you can show.
That's it, man. I had numbers I could show,
Yeah.
and then full transparency. I was between network and maybe a couple other labels, and I think it made sense for me. I like the people over there too. They're all really nice. They're good people. Just Canadian as hell, just super nice.
There you go. Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm like, wow, y'all are like so kind. This is crazy. They come to the shows like, oh yeah, we'd like to come to the LA show. I'm like, wow, I see you guys all the time. I don't know. They're great. PR guys.
That's great.
George,
They're showing that they're invested in you,
yeah.
showing up to things.
Yeah, stuff like that. I love that, man. They're really cool. They've been great. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with them and grow with them, and we'll just see how things shake out. But been great so far, bro.
Yeah. That's awesome. What else are you doing? Like I peeped in on one of your YouTube live streams the other day. You've got that going on. You've been building your YouTube channel. You've got a relatively strong presence on Instagram. Are you like you have a Patreon? Like, can you talk about how you've like used the internet to like build something?
Sure. Yeah. Well, firstly, Shayla would be like, I told you to get on Instagram. She did. But 2011 or 2012 or something. Back then it was just a place to share fun photos, I guess. And then right around, I put out my first EP in 2013, 2014, the Butcher Brown Project. And then 2015, I'm like graduating from school, trying to book my own shows. I remember this conversation. I wanted to do some shows at clubs I'd already played with Christian. Oh, it made sense. Play it here, They're like, oh yeah, you sound good. You sound good, young man, blah, 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 Oh, word. I got my own band. Here's my CD, my second CD rather. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, and Corey, the drummer, he's on it too, trying to like whatever. And
Make connect. Yeah, right.
it wasn't working, you know what I'm saying? And I would just be following up. Like I said, I had the time. So I'm just following up on their Instagrams of these clubs. And it was like Jazz Alley in Seattle. And I was like, we'd love to play there. Just played there with Christian, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, look, we only book artists that have 7,500 followers. And I was like, oh, word. That was so specific. It's like,
Wow.
really?
They had a number. Interesting, man.
Yeah, they had a number. And I was like, is this a thing? I was like, I guess it is. This is 2015, 16. Yeah, I was like, I guess so. So that's when I was like, all right, I guess if this is the barrier to my ability to get in these rooms, I'm going to, that's the straight line to get to where I need to be. I guess I'll start focusing on that for now then. So that's when I started doing transcription videos and posting more really on there. Starting that Transcription Tuesday series back then and just staying consistent, more so thinking about like my social media and records, to be fair, as more of documentation of my process than rather a work of art or anything that like that. I've been very much against this idea of like perfection. I went to school with that kind of mindset, and it was toxic to some degree.
Yeah, sure.
Artist, wasn't into it. So I don't think of Instagram or really even my records that way. I'm not looking for that. More so just expression, and excellence is one thing. Like hitting, where your bar is at, and like if it's in that zone of like something that like you're proud of. But this esoteric kind of idea, like that was the most perfect thing. I'm not looking for that. And same goes with my social media. So once I got out of that mindset, it became easier to just post on there more and share more.
Sure.
Yeah, because to some degree, I think a lot of artists, people are there's a bit of fear with just sharing yourself, and being that kind of person.
And I think a lot of people feel like they have to be somebody they're not in order to do something there, you know,
Right.
in order to build, have to pretend.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't think that's necessarily true. You got to just do what feels honest for you. And for me, thinking of it, like I said, documenting, oh, I'm already practicing and learning these solos anyways. Sure, I'll hit record and share it. And if I jacked up a little bit, it's fine. It's just the process. This is the process of becoming a better musician. I started just kind of doing that, and that helped. Started to grow. It got to that point where, all right, I need this. I'm seeing the return here rather in the material world. There was a point there. Now I'm sure all hell's broken loose, but like there was a point where it's like, yeah, there was some correlation, you know, early days of like, okay, these followers, the engagement, to this, to the, like I was getting booked to some, you know, clubs. I was able to stay at some hotels. I used to stay at the Line Hotel for free for just posting, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Where like it was working. It was like it was a functional kind of system for me where I was like, okay, cool. I post here, I can get this. There was some sort of material exchange in the real world that made sense for me.
That's great.
Yeah, I prioritized it a bit, you know, just so, to a certain end. And
so have you found getting people to your Patreon, is that something you're being intentional about, or you just have it there in case? I mean, it seems like you've got a lot of material on there. You have like pre-recorded videos, different levels for learning different skills.
I could probably go a little harder with like pushing it, but no, for now I'm just like, just kind of sharing kind of what I have, but I'm not going too wild with like, I'm not trying to run ads or anything. No, just you know, just sharing and being consistent about it, and trying to build a community of people that care, not so much like trying to shove these lessons down people's throats or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But more so, just trying to share what I know and bring people into a community of musicians and artists that are interested in my journey, I guess. But to be fair, I could probably share about it a bit more. I probably would. I'm sure.
Well, whatever. I'm not hating. I was just curious.
Oh yeah, no, it's on my page, you know, and every once in a while I'll try and share. I have another like day of taping coming up on like the 18th of Monday where I'm gonna get into some more like sound and conceptual kind of things.
Okay.
I'm learning, bro. Like it's an ever changing like landscape, you know, the internet itself, and especially each one of these socials. You heard about this TikTok ban that's happening, and then like IG's like, you know, the culture there is shifting. So it's always moving and shifting from like, it went from photos to videos, from videos to talking caption videos to whatever. It's always constantly moving. So like I analyze the field a bit, see where I fit in naturally and comfortably, and then, you know, do my thing. And that's kind of it. I'm fortunate to have found in real world, you know, fans and people already before. Who knows what happens to these social things? You know, I'm fortunate to on that when I did it. Same with streaming. Same thing goes for that. Like I'm glad I dropped in 2016. It was like the SoundCloud, like it was the heyday of that era. You know, because it's just millions of people dropping songs now. It's gotten so. Right.
Yeah, it's like 120,000 a day or something on Spotify.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
That's bonkers, man. It's bonkers.
It wasn't that. I used to know the person, Athena, who ran like Fresh Finds, and then that would like get you to this and this. And I used to know her. She was dope. It's like it used to just be way more, I don't know, homies and personal. And it was a good time to be releasing stuff. And I happened to just know certain people that worked there, and it was, you know what I mean? It was cool. And now it's like it's changed again, and it's become, if not, more corporate and more detached than what it was. The layoffs don't help. I don't know any of my homies over there anymore. And now I'm just like, and I'm only laughing. I'm just like, what is going on? Like globally, like it's kind of scary. Sometimes you just laugh because you're just like, oh shit, like what is going on? The layoffs are nuts, and the landscape is constantly changing. But like not only in music, like in the world, AI and it's fucking. It's crazy, bro.
It is. I guess so many questions. Do you feel like AI is going to be a tool that we use. It's going to be completely different. I mean, I know there's a lot of like doomsday interpretations of what's happening with AI right now. And in a lot of ways, I feel like it's inevitable and musicians should probably embrace it. Like I'm an artist, make a whole bunch of music myself. I don't know how I could incorporate it, but I'm curious, you know?
I mean, AI is a tool or, that people are using already. I've used it to like, shit, I needed stems the other day and I just took a song and put it into this thing, Moises. And it was like, how would you like it divided? 6 instruments, 7 instruments, 8. I was like, yeah, well, I was like, great. And they just split it all up. And I was like, wow. It was pretty cool.
One file.
Yeah. I needed the.
No shit.
Yeah, you just make instrumentals, man. Just like.
I didn't even know you could do that.
So AI's already got it, bro. It's already got it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, bro, it's nuts. But it doesn't, again, it's like just getting out there and building like real relationships with people though. Like that's what was so reinvigorating for me, where I was like, all the doomsday shit, I understand it and it is kind of scary, but at the end of the day, people still just feel like people are still craving that kind of connection.
In person, in real time.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yep.
At least in this lifetime, it's still a thing. And I could feel that as of like a week ago. I was like, this is crazy. It was awesome.
Yep.
So that's not going anywhere. And you can still build your thing, build your life.
Yeah. Are you an email list person? Do you have an email? Like you were talking about
I do.
How Instagram, like Instagram shifts, Facebook shifts, MySpace used to be a thing. It's like these things come and go. And if you build your entire fan base on a platform like TikTok and then it's banned by the government,
it's over.
What do you do? Like an email list is something that's a little more stable. So you're in that world a little bit?
I am. That's part of what I do like about Patreon, like having all that information too, and knowing who these people are and having contacts, and able to connect to them in that way. I do like that. You don't get that from Spotify and all these monthly listeners. You don't get that from Apple, and you don't get that from some of these. They want to hoard that information. They don't want you to know.
Right. That's their data. That's what they sell to make money.
Listening to your song a million gazillion times, who will probably pay you $5,000 to wear your T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't even want you to know who that person is, which is unfortunate. Because most artists have one of those people. So you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
So that's unfortunate. So I think I agree with you. Building that email list is important. One of my homies, Emmett Cohen, used to always do that, and I should be more vigilant about that. Like bringing a clipboard out, at the show, and just like having people sign up. Like that's
man. And like I think click-through rates are like 25% in emails, and it's like 1.2% on the internet or something like that. On socials, it's like crazy. Because whoever signed up on your email list is already sort of invested in you, right? You're obviously going to get like bigger eyeball numbers on socials, but you're kind of like it's direct marketing when you're using an email list, people that signed up anyway.
Right.
It's like that's how I funded all my like Kickstarters and stuff I've run in the past. It's like all pretty much email list stuff,
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So continuing to grow that, most of which coming through, my website. People purchasing my little like ebooks or like just sheet music. People, like there's a whole class at Berkeley. They were doing a concert of my music, and they're like, "Oh, where can we get your music?" I'm like, "It's on my website, but if you need a particular song that's not on there, I'll send it to you," kind of thing. And it's like, sure, people all the time playing my songs for recitals, all types of things, and I'm like,
cool.
So but I'll get all that information through that funnel through just Squarespace. Nothing crazy. That and that Patreon, and then sometimes just directly on DM, staying connected to certain people. Like I always write back to everyone, and I try and just like stay, in contact with like people that write me a lot,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot of nuts and bolts. Like a lot of this podcast is about like the industry, the business side of things, like how do you handle certain nuts and bolts. But, I heard you say on your YouTube live stream the other day that you've got a stack of notebooks behind you, and it's like all these lines that you used to write out and practice. So like, how does a young musician learn language?
Yo, I'll show you. I will show you. Okay, so you listen to a Charlie Parker song or a Miles solo, and they play a line that you like. Here's one, like that's pretty cool, maybe. I'll
Yep.
figure it out, and then I'll put it. Bro, that almost sounded like you read that shit. Hold up. What? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So yeah, this is oh yeah, I gotta upload this one. This is a thing on altered dominance, and I wrote lines out for each one of them. Um, where I'm just essentially the kind of like bebop oriented scales, but I just wrote them surrounding a certain kind of chord color and sound so that I can kind of get the sound in my ear. And then whichever ones that I start to like gravitate towards more, I think there's an emotional reason for that, and a lot of I think my language, so to speak, or like sounds that I like to play more are personal. And everyone's gonna have different things that they're attracted to, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just everyone's got that. Like, yo, I like this kind of core color. It's like super dark or whatever. And it speaks to who you are, you know what I'm saying? Which is cool.
Yeah.
And I have ones that I like that are just like brighter, a little brighter or sweeter sounding, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dang, I like those sounds. And I end up kind of realizing, oh, this comes from the melodic minor kind of mode, like this part of the melodic minor scale. And like,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, I tend to write a lot of songs from that. And then, through that kind of like, I don't know, almost repetition of this sonic color, you start to create a world, and a sound. That sounds like, dang, that sounds like some Braxton shit, or this sounds like some Christian Scott kind of thing, or like,
Yeah.
probably when you analyze it, you'll start to hear a certain like just color choices that are consistent through song to song to song, you know?
So are you taking those lines? Are you like systematically learning them in all 12 keys? Are you?
Definitely. That's how you like really get it. You want to go through all 12 keys,
Yeah.
And then you'll sit with like, yeah, certain colors and certain altered dominance, or in this case, but like, yeah, certain sounds and certain kind of, alterations or whatever will become like, this is the one I like. And that starts to become like your kind of style, as opposed,
Yeah.
as opposed to like someone else that chooses something else. And I've noticed that, also just to be even more specific, I think before I even got to that, that was more of a recent, I don't know, past like 5-6 years kind of thing. For that, like just when I was practicing, it was really a matter of like rote memorization of like Bird and Cannonball and memorizing all their stuff. Then I took a line of theirs I liked, and then I would just change one or two things. It was like that, I took a Kenny Garrett line and I like this line. I changed one or two things. I took a Johnny Hodges thing. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna change one or two notes here, and I'd write it out. And it'd be those kind of changes to things that are already part of the Bible musically, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you make little changes and alterations and stuff like that to become like your own personal touch. And I would just say, yeah, I have books and books of this stuff.
So I've heard you talk about learning Bird. Like, I'm just trying to play some Bird over modern music. Like, you say stuff like that. Like how have you taken what you've learned and like synthesized it and then brought it into a modern sound? Because like what you're playing has bebop stuff in it, but like the landscape on which it lies feels very not bebop. But it's a part of the tradition. I mean, I love this idea of like studying old music, and then it's like I think about like Roy Hargrove and like studying the old greats and like really understanding the language and still having his like acoustic quintet his whole career, but also doing all this stuff that was connecting from the D'Angelo stuff to like the RH Factor stuff, Yeah,
like I think the word you said was synthesizing, and that's the key, and like what it takes to get to that point. I think it's a bit of practice, obviously, and internalization of these like harmonic and melodic things that come from what like Bird, Cannonball, Train, all these geniuses before us. But then it's like a conceptual kind of thing that has to click to make it not sound like literally like I'm playing on top of hip hop. Like I'm not doing that.
Right.
Even though it sounds a little like, yeah, there is some Bird in there for sure, but it doesn't sound like 1941 on top of hip hop. It's like, so it's like, what is that? Why does it sound different? Kind of, but and that is I think that's a conceptual understanding of like maybe just how rhythm has shifted a bit, you know? I'm playing similar language. I know the chromaticism is similar. I know my tone is probably pulling from that, but the way I'm articulating it is definitely not in the 40s because the beat has changed. The feel of the beat, the beat has evolved. It's got electronic sounds and all this stuff. It's like it's a little different. So where we lay things has kind of shifted with regard to like hip hop. It's all still connected and stuff, but it's like, yeah, maybe just how I choose to deliver it has changed. And and yeah, that's more of a that comes from I think me singing over things like this remind me of my lyrical approach to playing over lines and over grooves.
Yeah.
Similar information, but some of that has helped to connect the two worlds, I think. I'm thinking of it, you know what I mean? Like how I would sing it. And that's
Yeah, absolutely.
like an R&B, like 90s, whatever kind of space with the content being very much like, yeah, old school bebop jazz shit, but over a rhythmic and harmonic bass that's modern sounding. You know what I'm saying? All those kind of things. But I've thought about that. I'm like, yeah, how do I play this? I don't want to sound like, I'm not going to articulate like that over.
I finally learned that shit, man. Just recently. I avoided Donnelly for so long, man. I was like, I don't want to do it. And finally I buckled down.
Good. You got it.
And I know it now. I know it's like a rite of passage too. It's like,
yeah.
I got a degree in jazz studies, man. Like I run a jazz program. I didn't know that shit. I was like, I'm a phony, man. I got to learn this shit.
Exactly. That and Cherokee, bro. That's it. Then
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah. Singing as much as I can. Singing as much as I can for sure. That has helped to bridge that gap for sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of singing in a lot of ways because, like, at least for me on my horn, I have a whole bunch of language that I couldn't necessarily sing. You know, a lot of chromaticism, especially. And when I'm writing music, I like to like come up with a basis and then sing over it to create melody rather than play my horn because I feel like I'm going to fall back on stuff that I've worked out or stuff that I'm not actually hearing, you know? But when I sing, it's like it's stuff that I'm actually hearing. And it feels like my music, when I do it that way, feels more personal and connects maybe a bit more.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
Also, I'll say some of this, I've always been told this, but like even when I'm trying to sound like cats from another time, like doing a transcription, and they said this in my jury at Julliard, they say this when I did like solo and ensemble in 7th and 8th grade for classical competitions, like they were like, wow, what a beautiful sound, but ornamenting too much or doesn't quite have the sound of like what I was going for. Like, so like I couldn't quite get the classical sound is what I'm trying to say. Like I couldn't get that sound out of the alto. Yeah.
Gotta get those wings out, man. Those classical sax wings.
Exactly. Even with the classical mouthpiece and all that like, I didn't play on a Meyer then. I had the whole setup, but like even then it's like to some degree I'm like, I wonder if this sound was just in my head, and I'm just refining it and just been years of years getting all the bedrock off of it and trying to find the pure tone. You know what I'm saying? That's always
tone. Yeah, here's something I heard you say. Tone is in your imagination.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's been years and years of trying to get to the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But it's like people in their own way have told me, no, it doesn't sound like classical. I don't know. It's very close to Bird, but like it doesn't. You got your own kind of thing. You're putting something on there, something smooth. They would always be like, you're putting something smooth on there, and I'm like, maybe I don't know, but that was just what I was hearing. It's always kind of been like that.
Yeah.
And I took it as a slight, to be fair. I think a lot of the time because it was like always on my jury sheets or something. But truthfully, it's probably just a blessing of just like, this is just what I hear, man. Mm-hmm. Trying to refine it.
And then that ultimately becomes the Braxton Cook sound. It's like, I know Braxton Cook when I hear Braxton Cook. And like, right? That's the idea. Is like,
that is
turn on old records,
That is the goal.
Hear one note of Miles and you're like, oh, that's Miles.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
Potent tone.
Right. Yeah. Just the concept of how I think the alto should sound. And I think I probably had that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And you know.
So I got two rapid fires to finish.
Oh, come on.
Okay. If you had to pick 3 albums on a desert island, I've learned so. This has become my favorite part of the podcast because I go listen to these records. People say 3 records. You got to pick 3.
Dog. Okay. It's gonna be Voodoo.
All right.
It's gonna be. Oh my goodness! It's gonna be them Dirty Blues, and then it's Cannonball, and then it's gonna be dang, bro. It's gonna be Coltrane Sound. Yeah.
Awesome. Rapid fire number 2 is, if you had advice for a young musician starting out now, what would it be?
Any musician, any instrument, starting out now?
Any musician, any instrument, any genre.
Oh, yo, practice all day, every day. Practice all day, every day, and yeah, do what you love. Like follow your heart. You know. I know it's very generic, but it's like you gotta practice. You can't skip that shit, bro. I practiced like 8 hours a day when I was in high school. Like, come on. Yeah, I didn't go to prom. I didn't do any of that.
Wow.
No dance, none of that. I was obsessed. That's it. That's really it. You know what I mean? I do feel like we don't talk about that stuff enough because that's the boring, like old school, like, oh, whiplash. Like, but for real, you know, it's like you have to have a period of obsession and almost a period of like, my life is imbalanced, you know?
Yes.
I can't afford to do that now. I lose my whole family and stuff. So, but you know what I mean? Like, I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't just be up here just shedding for 10 hours a day and just neglecting my entire family. But like the time to do it is like, if possible, you know, because everyone's life situation is completely different. I know like there's privilege in that. But yeah, when you can find those times practicing nonstop and yeah, that's what I did in middle and high school, yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, this was really a pleasure. I enjoy your music so much, man. I'm really honored that you come on and talk to me. And
my dog.
Good luck with everything, man.
Bro, it's up. Next album's coming up, man. I'm excited.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll link your stuff in the show notes, and when the new album comes out, I'll drop that link in the show notes too. So be checking out Braxton's music. We did it, man. Peace.
Peace, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you.